Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today with another game discussion. Today we're going to be talking about game launches, specifically the ones that seem to go really bad. More specifically, some of the recent game launches that we've just seen that have been an absolute mess. The Master Chief Collection, which I planned on doing a preview for today, which isn't happening because I haven't actually got a chance to play any of it, except for the single player. And while the single player is great, and that's like a whole bit of nostalgia and wonderfulness, at the same time, most of us wanted to get the Master Chief Collection because it meant that we could play Halo's multiplayer, not just Halo 4, but also, of course, Halo 2, Halo 1, and Halo 3 on our Xbox Ones with our friends like we did almost 10 years ago. Sadly, there's just been non-stop server issues. 343 has been trying to address these with server-side updates. But the fact is, last night I spent an hour and a half, not to mention all the time during the day, attempting to get into matches, and I was only able to get into one match with 3 out of my 4 friends, because the other person just simply couldn't connect. And the entire time we were plagued with mic chat issues, party disconnects, not just on the Master Chief Collection, but also ones that seem to carry over into the party system for the Xbox One. So the launch has pretty much been an absolute mess. And that's kind of been a trend over the last year or so when it comes to game launches. And there's really not like a solid answer for that. You know, are devs pushing themselves too hard? Are publishers pushing the devs too hard? You know, what is going on that we're just seeing atrocious game launches? At the same time, we have the other side of the coin where there's all these developers putting out betas and alphas, Evolve being one of the most recent ones. The Crew has been in beta testing for almost 6 months now, really trying to nail all of these issues before launch, which to me seems like the intelligent thing to do. At the same time, I'm not trying to say that every single game seems to have a bad launch these days. That's definitely not the case, but the number is definitely higher than it used to be, and part of that definitely has to be the fact that publishers and developers know they now have the chance to make those mistakes. You know, go back 10 years, the launch of Halo 2, Xbox Live was pretty popular, but you sure as hell weren't able to push day one patches to your game. If something was broken, you sold it at retail and the customer took it home and they couldn't play it, and there was probably a really big recall and you lost a ton of money. Basically, you messed up pretty badly at that point. Now that's not a concern, you know. 343 was able to launch the Master Chief Collection with tons of server-side issues, multiplayer, matchmaking issues, and they can just fix those things, you know, day one, day two, as we continue to go down the line at no cost to the customer. You know, just kind of a little bit of their pride, I imagine, has been hurt by this launch. And hopefully they'll learn from that. But at the same time, it's not the only game to see a launch like that, and it's not the only game in recent memory that has had a bad launch that is just connection-based. Assassin's Creed Unity actually came out yesterday, and that game has been plagued with optimization issues on the PC. Basically, people with ridiculously powerful rigs, even somebody like Total Biscuit, has completely dropped his WTF of Assassin's Creed Unity because it's so poorly optimized, he can't even run on his computer without having all of these crashes and issues, and he also isn't able, a lot of people aren't able to get it above 30 FPS, which is kind of insane when you look at somebody like TB who has a rig that probably costs well over $4,000, you know, and it's packed with 2 Titan Z's. There's no reason he shouldn't be able to run Assassin's Creed Unity at way more than 60 FPS, so it's not just down to server issues and multiplayer matchmaking issues, it seems to be everywhere. It's in the game design, it's in bugs. I mean, who are they paying to Q&A test these games these days? Because it just doesn't seem to be getting done as well as it used to. Of course, at the same time, budgets for games have been getting larger and larger, and at the same time with that, the budgets have been being pushed in sort of the wrong direction, in my opinion. We're seeing more and more money spent on marketing, which is just absurd. I mean, to me, to be honest, the number one marketing tool these days are actually YouTubers, some of the biggest ones out there. You give people a game to play, other people watch that person play it, they like it, there's a good chance that the person watching that person is probably a pretty big fan of that person, a true fan perhaps, and they're probably going to go pick it up. You've made a good, you've made a good sale there, you've made a good point, as long, of course, your game isn't broken. Because the other side of that coin is that you give the game to a YouTuber and it's completely crap, and they hate it, and then everyone else hates it. So I just think the amount of money being put into marketing is completely unnecessary and absurd, and we see that a lot lately between Battlefield, EA, and of course Activision and Call of Duty. They're 2 titans and they seem to be duking out non-stop, trying to get the top sales numbers. At the same time, speaking of Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare was probably one of the best launches for a multiplayer game, especially of that stature, one that has so many people playing it. Probably in the past couple of years, to be honest. I was really impressed. You know, there were the obvious issues that you would expect to have. Just, a little bit of connection imbalance here and there, bad connections to a match, but there weren't any dropouts. I didn't get kicked from servers, I didn't get kicked from parties with my friends, I didn't have trouble connecting. And of course, that's the complete opposite with the Master Chief Collection. It's just an absolute mess. So what happened? you know, in the 10 years since the original Halo 2 came out, and we all took it home and we either played on Xbox Live with almost no issue, or we played at a LAN party at our friend's house, to now, where you can't even use what is supposed to be considered the best way to play with your friends, you know, to play with your friends. That's what the Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, all of these internet type services were supposed to be so well known for. Even PC, you know, server issues. Like, this is the way we're supposed to be able to play with our friends who don't live near us. It's supposed to be quick and easy, and it's turning into something that's just more of a hassle. You shouldn't have to wait 2 days after the launch of a game to actually play half of it. You know, why should I just be forced to play the single player for the Master Chief Collection just because the multiplayer doesn't work? So what happened in the last 10 years? What has changed? I really don't know the answer, but I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. You know, we can kind of argue endlessly about publishers. A lot of people are going to bring up EA as the devil, Activision is the devil, and I'm not going to say that these companies are great and they're always looking or working in the best interest of the developers or of the consumer, but who knows? I mean, we just really don't have any hard facts about this kind of thing. And it's always interesting when down the road, 10 years, 20 years from now, we finally get to hear the story of like this CEO or working for this company was actually terrible and we always thought it was great. Who knows? Maybe one day someone will come out and say that working for Valve is the worst thing ever, despite what we've been led to believe. Let me know your thoughts on the situation, and what game did you pick up most recently that had the most disappointing launch for you? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.